Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from not the Commander's Quarters studio once again, temporarily out of the studio. I'll be back, at some point in the near future, but right now recording in my friend's place, and yeah, this is the amazing setup. Look at this beautiful wall, yeah, it's kind of a gloomy day, so the lighting isn't always the best, but yeah, we're gonna make do, and yeah, we're definitely gonna make do today because oh my goodness. Well, okay, first up. Didn't get much sleep last night because I just, of course, woke up and then, I was like, I'm a little awake. Yeah, I'll just check my phone, check Reddit. Oh my goodness, what is going on? We've got some leaks. I mean, it just seems like Wizards is just a leaky ship lately over the past couple years. We're just like, oh yeah, by the way, yeah, here's a product that you didn't even know was coming. And yeah, here's all the cards in it. So here we go. On today's episode, going to be talking about, and apologies if I mispronounced this name, Edgin, Larcenous Lutenist. That's a cool name. I believe these are Universes Beyond cards. I think it's probably going to be a secret layer. And of course, they're going to be doing the magic version of these cards at some point as well. So if you don't want to pick up the secret layer, don't feel forced to. Never feel forced to do that. The magic cards will be coming out. The magic versions of these will be coming out at some point around the time when these come out. And generally, that's more so what I would be doing because those tend to be a lot cheaper. I mean, if you look at like the Stranger Things ones, just as an example, the Magic Alternative Art versions are much, much cheaper than those. So yeah, but really some interesting cards. Let's jump in the card. On these quick takes, again, I'm going to be taking through some budget buys, cards that are less than $1 cards within my budget, and then some cards that are outside my budget with the pricier picks. But yeah, let's start with the commander first. Edgin, Larcenous Lutenist. Again, that name's just fantastic. A 3/3 human bard for 1 blue-red. Each non-land card in your hand without foretell has foretell. Its foretell cost is equal to its mana cost reduced by 2. And foretell means during your turn you can pay 2 and exile from your hand face down. Cast it on a later turn for its foretell cost. Also, whenever you cast your second spell each turn, go to target creature opponent controls. There's a lot of interesting things you can do with this commander. A foretell commander is definitely one that has been on many players' minds, actually, for quite some time, mine included, where, yeah, foretell is just a very cool mechanic that we got from Kaldheim, and yeah, I think this is a very interesting approach to it. Again, basically giving all your cards foretell, essentially, all your non-land cards, I should say, in your hand. So you can essentially kind of pay 2 ahead of time to get a reduction of 2 later, and kind of just, save all these little cards off to the side and get, extra benefits whenever you're casting multiple spells in a turn. Again, casting second spell each turn. That counts your opponent's turns as well. So if you're casting multiple spells on your turns, you are able to then, go to your opponent's creatures, make a lot of use out of your opponent's creatures, send them into bad combat situations, especially, again, in a multiplayer format like Commander. It's going to be a fantastic way to, well, send your opponent's biggest creatures at each other. And then also, yeah, I mean, if your opponent's got a creature that they don't want to swing with because it might be pretty weak, maybe their commander, that they just want to kind of keep in play, it's got like a static ability or something like that. Yeah, it's a great way to take certain key creatures out. And of course, there's some other really sneaky things that we can do with Goad as well. We'll talk about those here in a bit. But yeah, being able to give all your cards foretell is pretty huge. I mean, obviously you can include, certain effects that work really well with casting cards from outside your hand and, foretelling, et cetera, but also, yeah, just some really cool things that you can do with that, and yeah, your opponents might assume that all your foretell cards are saw it coming, right? Because saw it coming, the counter spell essentially for foretell. It's kind of like, it's a nice trick that you can pull, having these like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Trap cards essentially in front of you that your opponents can see that you've got a lot of things in play, but yeah, they might not know exactly what that is. There's certain things you can also get around with foretelling as well, like if you've got, a wheel effect essentially. Okay, so I foretold most of these cards out, they're just, exiled, they're foretold here. And then also I'm going to, Magus the Wheel, essentially, discard hand, draw 7 cards. You've got like a separate hand kind of just ready with your foretell cards too. So there's a lot of exciting things you can do with Edgin, Larcenous Lutenist. Again, that name is just fantastic. But now let's jump into the budget buys. Again, cards that I am going to be considering, cards that are less than $1. And I should probably have mentioned before, the list for all these cards are going to be in the description below. So yeah, if you're interested in this commander, make sure you check that list out and maybe pick up some of these cards sooner rather than later, because sometimes cards, end up going up in price. And Sage of the Beyond very well might, because this card is fantastic with foretell cards. It's a 5/5 Spirit Giant with flying. That's nice. It does cost 7 mana, which is a lot. You can foretell it actually. It just has foretell inherently on it for 4 to blue, so you can cast it for a lot cheaper. your commander's not going to really help you with that because, again, it already has foretell. But this can help you with everything, essentially everything else, because it says spells you cast from anywhere other than your hand cost 2 less to cast. So this reduces the cost of every single one of the cards that you are going to be casting from the Foretold Zone or Exile. I mean, it's to cast for Exile, but all your Foretold cards are going to have a cost reduction of 2. So again, you're basically, again, for let's say a 6 mana card, right? You pay 2 to foretell it thanks to your commander, okay? And then you get a 2 cost reduction on it. This adds 2 more to that, so you're only going to be casting that, 6 mana spell essentially for 2 mana. So you can do a lot of crazy things. Again, there's a lot of exciting plays that you can make, especially when you got a cost reducer like this in play. Definitely a fantastic card for foretell decks. Speaking of which, next up we've got Cosmos Charger. Love the art on this one. A 3/3 horse spirit with flash and flying. Foretelling cards from your hand cost 1 less and can be done on any player's turn. That is a massive effect. This is absolutely huge. And actually, I mean, also another card that you can actually foretell too, but still, being able to get a cost reduction on your foretelling is huge, again, because you're basically going to be netting mana, not netting mana, but you're going to be saving even more mana than you would have just with your commander's ability, right? Because you're like, okay, instead of paying 2, I can pay 1 to foretell a card out of my hand. And then also, yeah, I get a cost reduction of 2 thanks to my commander. And obviously I can stack even more if you got Sages Beyond in play. But yeah, definitely a great play. And of course, being able to foretell cards on your opponent's turns too, that just gives you more flexibility with your mana as well. So that can just be a good way to kind of save your mana up if you need it for other things. Wait until right before your turn, foretell a ton of cards, and then you're good to go on your turn. So yeah, definitely a really exciting card for a deck like this. And again, one that might go up in price. All-Run God of the Cosmos. Another card that deals with foretell, a 1/1 god for 5 mana. There's a backside as well. We're going to focus on the front here, though. All-Run gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand and each foretold card you own in exile. Again, it's a commander itself, but this is a card in the 99 that can really take advantage of, again, you being able to utilize kind of foretelling cards as an outside hand resource, essentially. Again, getting bigger based on that number, but also the number of cards in your hand. So again, if you can utilize, wheel effects, essentially, again, maybe like a Windfall, again, like a Magus the Wheel, etc., 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 you can then discard, whatever minimal cards you have in your hand. You might not have any in your hand, replace your hand entirely, and this can become a massive threat for you. On top of that, there's a little bit of card advantage too, potentially in here as well. At the beginning of your end step, choose a card type and reveal the top 2 cards of your library. Put all cards of the chosen type in your hand, the rest of your library in any order. Yeah, I mean, even just choosing land every now and then can definitely help you just get some more lands and be able to hit land drops out of there. Choose what, I mean, maybe you got some scry effects too that can help you essentially know what's on top as well. But yeah, just some additional potential card advantage on top of this. Just being a big, heavy hitter as well can be great. Next up, we've got Furkrag, Cunning Instigator, a 3/3 dragon flying in haste. Whenever one of our dragons you control attack an opponent, goad target creature that player controls. So that's nice. Again, being able to goad in a different way. Probably don't have too many dragons in this deck, but you never know. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, if that creature had to attack this combat, you can put a +1 counter on this creature and you draw a card. So basically, you are going to be, again, goading quite a few creatures throughout the game, thanks to, this and also your commander, obviously. So being able to goad creatures can obviously lead to, this becoming even larger. Obviously, putting your opponent's creatures into bad situations, attacking opponents, which is great. And on top of that, again, being able to draw cards because those creatures had to attack. So yeah, if they can get through one of your opponents, maybe pick an evasive creature, you're going to be drawing even more cards with that, kind of refilling your hand again, just kind of getting your, even more resources to start foretelling even more cards. So this can be a great card. Speaking of which, another dragon actually that can help us out too, Vengeful Ancestor. Enters the battlefield or attacks goad target creature. So again, another way to goad can be fantastic, especially when paired with that other one. This one also says that whenever a goaded creature attacks, deals 1 damage to its controller. So that's just a nice additional, pinging effect essentially that can really wear opponents down throughout the game. So this can obviously, help you control the board as well, help you send creatures into bad situations, just on attack, and then also, ping that and hurt that opponent for actually, being forced to attack, again, in the variety of ways that you're going to be doing that. Moving on, you can take advantage of targeting opponent's creatures in a massive way, though, with a card like Dismiss in a Dream. And this thing can be so brutal and so effective in this kind of a deck. It's an enchantment that says each creature opponents control is an illusion to its other types, and it has, when this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, sacrifice it. So again, sure, okay, now I can't utilize my opponent's creatures against each other, right? Because, okay, if I target something, it's going to get sacrificed, so it's not going to be attacking an opponent. That being said, now this just turns, okay, whenever I cast the second spell in a turn, essentially, I can just, target creature has to be sacrificed. So yeah, this can just be an incredible way to basically turn your goad into a essentially like a guaranteed removal spell. And again, sacrificing get around, indestructible, regeneration, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, this can just be a very powerful tool for you. And there is another way we'll talk about here in a bit to be able to take advantage of that targeting component. But yeah, a lot of great effects. And of course, this can pair well again with the other goading effects that we talked about, other targeting effects that you might have in this kind of a deck. Next up, you can also take advantage of, again, being encouraged to cast multiple spells in a turn and being able to do so thanks to your commander. Jory and Ruin Diver is a fantastic card in combination with this as well. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, draw a card. Again, this applies on every single turn, including our opponent's turns, and be able to refill our hand very quickly by, again, casting 2 spells in a turn, which we can very easily do with all that cost reduction. And then we, get the goading effect, we get the card draw, we get a lot of extra benefits out of this. So yeah, again, just having another way to take advantage of casting multiple spells in a turn can be huge. Speaking of which, Tomb of Horrors Adventurer, a 4/4 elf monk that has, when it enters the battlefield, take the initiative. So cool, introducing the initiative is nice. On top of that, whenever you cast your second spell each turn, copy it. If you complete a dungeon, copy that spell twice instead, choosing targets for the copy. So again, you just get a free additional copy essentially for just casting a second spell in a turn. That's fantastic. Again, you're already encouraged to do so. And if you, completed a dungeon, you get basically 3 times the value. So that's absolutely incredible. A card that, of course, does have a high converted mana cost-ish, but again, you can foretell it. With your commander, you can, get it out earlier than you'd be able to. And again, if you got like Sage of the Hours out, you can get even more cost reduction out of it. Again, there's a lot of powerful things you can do, even big cards like this one. And speaking of big plays, Mana Geyser. Yeah, a ritual effect like this can be incredible in a deck like this. First up, because, well, you can, foretell it and then cast it for a cheaper amount even. I mean, a Mana Geyser costs, 5 mana. Usually you can cast it for basically 3, thanks to that reduction from your commander. 2 and then 3, you know what I mean. Add red for each tap land your opponent's control. A giant ritual effect, again, in a game of commander, can just give you, 20 plus mana quite easily. So net a ton of mana, foretell basically your entire hand probably. Cast a couple of things out of foretell as well. Get to some massive plays with a card like this. Again, paired with a wheel or two or whatnot, you can do some really crazy things with this as well. But now that we've talked about the budget buys, let's move on to the pricier picks. Again, cards that are above my $1 budget, but cards that you definitely might want to consider if they're within your budget. First up, let's start off with yet another ritual effect with Jessica's Will, a fantastic card and one that can be incredible to get you just at a really good start, essentially, in a game. Choose one. If you control a commander, you cast a spell, choose both. So if we got our commander in play, again, a low to the ground commander like ours, we can get it in play quite easily. Add red for each card in target opponent's hand. Exile the top 3 cards of your library, play them this turn. So basically, temporary card advantage potentially, and also a ritual effect. The ritual effect is what we really care about here for the most part, but yeah, getting both is great. And being able to, again, essentially say, okay, yeah, I've just got this giant boost of mana. Again, this can just be a 1 mana spell for us. If we got, wheel effects, again, like I mentioned before, that we can get our opponents back up to 7 cards. We can get a lot of mana out of this quite quickly. And again, utilize that mana quite effectively to foretell cards, to cast foretell cards, etc., etc. So yeah, a great card. Oh my goodness, though. Speaking of which, Braid of Fire, an incredible card in a deck like this. Your upkeep, you get a red mana to your mana pool. It's cumulative upkeep, so it's going to add each time essentially 1, then 2, then 3. Now, back in the day when mana burn was a thing, this was a card that was a high risk, high reward play. Now there is absolutely no risk to this card, essentially, right? You're not, mana burning when you have excess mana, essentially, that you didn't spend. So with this, again, you can use it to foretell cards. And yeah, foretelling the cards, just kind of getting a giant bulk of cards off to the side, essentially. Basically, you're just kind of foretelling all your cards, not for free, but this is going to be able to, at a certain point, just kind of handle all the foretelling for you. Then if you've got some instant speed spells too, you can utilize them, especially out of foretell, and just, yeah, make some really big plays with this. Moving on, a card that I remember, I think I built it, utilized it maybe in my Jory deck a long time ago, but yeah, Three-Hand Turbine, a very interesting card. Kind of on a lower level than the Braid of Fire, but still one that can be very effective. Artifact during upkeep, add 2 colorless mana. Only spend it. You can't use it to play spells, but you can still utilize it, again, basically for a free foretell on every single one of your turns. So yeah, definitely something that, again, can just be a small investment up front. It can save you mana throughout the game. So this can just be a great way to, again, just get free foretell, free extra value, essentially. Just kind of prepaying a little bit of that spell. Next up, though, speaking of getting extra value, Birgi, God of Storytelling. There is a other side of Birgi too, an MDFC side, but the front side is what we're going to focus on here. Whenever you cast a spell, add red until end of turn, you don't lose this mana steps in phase end. Again, we're going to be able to cast a lot of spells in a turn, being able to utilize that to then foretell more cards, being able to utilize, one thing to chain into another can be a great play. So yeah, Birgi can be a great mana resource for us throughout the game and just a very, very effective and efficient card for us. So yeah, Birgi, Yeah, definitely a great card to consider. Next up, speaking of which, quite pricey, but Valkanori could definitely be a good one to consider as well. Again, being able to really take advantage of our commander's trigger, again, that second spell each turn, being able to say, okay, it doesn't matter what the turn is, we can take advantage of that turn by being able to cast whatever spells we need to on, even our opponent's turns too. So yeah, I guess I should have read the card first. Valkanori cast spells that had flash. So yeah, basically play whenever you want. So yeah, being able to give all of our things flash can lead to some very unexpected plays. Can allow us to essentially play, as efficiently as we possibly can, play on our opponent's turns, and again, really take advantage again of those second spell cast triggers, like you go into our commander, not Elish Norn, goodness, Jory and, I don't know why Elish Norn came in my head, Jory and Ruin Diver and other kind of second spell triggers as well. So yeah, this can definitely be a good card to consider if you got the budget for it. Next up, Keeper of Secrets. Speaking of which, my goodness, this card is really spicy for a commander like this. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, Keeper of Secrets deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to target opponent. So again, you're going to be foretelling a lot of cards. You're going to be casting a lot of cards from the foretell zone, exile, whatever it is. And so you're going to be able to get, a lot of triggers off of this. And again, keep in mind, this doesn't care how much mana you actually spent to cast the spell, because again, you are getting that cost reduction thanks to your commander or, other effects as well, like Sage of the Hours. But yeah, this essentially is like, hey, you just cast a 6 mana spell from exile. So let's ping an opponent in the face for 6. So this can really add up throughout the game. You can punish your opponents even further. This is a great card for a deck like this. You want to consider again if you've got the budget. Next up, Mizzix Replica Rider. This is a commander that absolutely loves casting things from exile, but as one of the 99 as well, for a commander like this, for a deck like this can be a great card. 4/5 Flying Goblin Wizard. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you may pay 1 Izzet. If you do, copy that spell and choose targets for the copy. The copy is a permanent spell, gains haste in the beginning of the year, end step sacrifices permanent. So again, ways to essentially get even more value out of these spells that you're casting from exile, ways to essentially now copy even more spells, get even more value, just an absolutely absurd amount of value throughout the game. Yeah, this new Mizzix can definitely be a very impactful card for a commander like this. And speaking of impactful, I mean, Will Breaker. Goodness gracious, this thing is just gross. It's kind of like Dismissed in a Dream, essentially. And back in the day, I used to use both in the same deck. This used to be more budget-friendly. Unfortunately, I don't think it's in a reprint, really. So, Wizards, please reprint it. A 2/3 human wizard. Whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes the target of a spell or ability you control, gain control of that creature for as long as you control Will Breaker. So now instead of goading creatures again with our commander's trigger or other goad effects or whatnot, essentially, it's like, okay, if you cast 2 spells in a turn, gain control of a creature. As long as you control this, you're now, instead of goading a creature, you're just stealing that creature, which is just absolutely fantastic. So now that creature is all yours, and yeah, this can lead to a lot of very exciting plays. Once you're set up properly, you're going to be able to steal the whole board in not too long. You're going to be able to control the game very easily. And then we've also got Ledger Shredder. This card got expensive very quickly. My goodness, 1/3 flyer. It says whenever a player casts their second spell each turn, Ledger Shredder connives. So basically, draw a card, discard a card. If you discard an Iron card, you get a +1/+1 counter on this low to the ground creature that can be very effective at helping you basically loot again and again and again and become a decently large threat too. Again, getting larger, not just for the second spell that you cast each turn, but your opponents as well. So yeah, this counts them too, and you can get a ton of value out of something like this. So yeah, just being able to add even more value to this deck, it can definitely be a good add. Now, with all those cards, mentioned, if you are interested again in this commander, interested in the cards I talked about, make sure you check out that card list link in the description below, because again, new exciting cards like this are actually, I think I said spoiler earlier, but this is leaked. I probably should have mentioned that, essentially that. A quick disclaimer, these have not been officially confirmed that I've found on Reddit. Apparently, it was mentioned that this was found in a Facebook post in somewhere, essentially, that Wizards probably didn't mean to come out just yet. So I don't know, I think the D&D movie's just around the corner, like in a week or so. But I'm sure they didn't want to come out this early, or maybe they did, but I don't know. Anyways. They seem to be incredibly legitimate. They look very legitimate. It would be a lot of work to really, make art like this, essentially, and do all these things. So I'm going to guess that these are legitimate. But again, just as a disclaimer, okay, if you're not completely sure about it, maybe don't pick any cards up until you see that these are, actually legitimate. And again, don't feel pressured to buy that secret lair. Again, there are going to be magic versions of these coming out at some point, and when they do, typically those magic versions are cheaper. So if I'm going to be picking one of these up, I will probably be doing that instead. So yeah, make sure you check out that link in the description below. Make sure you stay tuned for even more exciting spoilers, quick takes, leaks, all the things. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.